Hey friends, it's Krista. Welcome back. And for those of you that are new, welcome to the channel. I'm Krista and I make videos that promote women's wellness, mind, body, and spirit. And what I'd like to talk about today is embracing the freedoms that you have. So we're going to talk about some barriers to that, such as dealing with any naysayers and how I like to handle it. We're going to talk about living your goals and your dreams your way, accepting trade-offs. I'm going to give you the top 3 freedoms that I believe we all have. And then I'll wrap it up with some personal disclosures for those of you that are interested in some personal stories and some more personal truths that I have found that work for me as a woman who's in my 50s now. So there are a lot of things in our world today in North America, US, where I live. I'm coming to you, by the way, from a beautiful park in Oregon, and it's very hot. It's over 90, so I have found a spot out here where I'm under a shade tree. I'll just kind of show you the view here. So one of the things that I promote is getting outdoors as much as you can. Whether you are living a mobile lifestyle like I currently am, traveling full-time, or if you are living somewhere in a fixed location, there are always parks and places that you can go and explore. And I have found it to be so rejuvenating to just be outdoors and find those places in nature that fill me up. So that is a freedom that you have. It's not even in the notes that I made today, which are just kind of some bullet points I'm gonna cover here. So remember that you do have freedoms. It might seem like we don't sometimes because, yes, there are limitations. I would call them trade-offs. So you might think that, the more money you have or the more friends and connections and things like that you have, the more freedom that you have. And that's true. And I'll talk about this more under trade-offs, but essentially, all of those things require a lot of maintenance. If you are traveling light, that can actually be a benefit. It all depends on how you look at it. But it seems like no matter how any of us are living, there's always a naysayer, right? There's always somebody out there willing to, just criticize or put in their negative 2 cents, try to lower your morale, make a comment, bring you down, question your choice or your reality, like, you aren't a grown woman who, is capable of making your own decisions, which in itself is a little insulting. If you're over 18, you're legally old enough to vote. You probably have a driver's license. If you're over 21, you can serve alcohol. When you're old enough to do these things, I think you're probably old enough to tell someone that's a naysayer the following about whatever it is that they're criticizing about you. And this is how I like to handle it, if I remember to. Well, have you actually tried it? 9 times out of 10, the people that are criticizing, they have not even tried whatever it is that they're criticizing. They're afraid to. They're afraid to. It looks scary to them, so they push people and new ideas away because in their hearts maybe they feel like they could never do that, or they would never want to. They don't see the benefits. They just see the negatives. They don't have a balanced view. So asking someone, well, like say someone looks at me as, in a certain way because I'm choosing right now to spend a lot of time camping. So I don't have running water, I'm living off grid. To some people that might mean, oh gosh, homelessness. And it's like, no, not really. I mean, I could live, I've lived like that for, over 50 years in a fixed location. So I know how to do that, but I'm embracing a new lifestyle that, yeah, it might not be mainstream, but it is certainly not something that, millions of people do in their RVs, their vans. There are people living in their cars, and there are many, many people who would love to have that lifestyle. I'm not specifically trying to make content just for them, because I think lifestyle changes throughout our lives. And if you are living in a house or an apartment or in a, any type of a mobile vehicle, that might be the way that you live the rest of your life. It might not. I started living off grid about 5 months ago, and as I move around and things like that, I look at different communities. I feel like I'm an explorer. I'm an adventurer. I'm learning about new communities and new places that I never would have had the opportunity to explore and to visit unless I had this lifestyle, because I'm in the middle of it. I am essentially living here, and not just in like a sterile, location, to me anyway. Like I'm not staying in a hotel. I am getting out. I meet people at parks. I meet people in restaurants. I'm trying new things and new places all the time that I probably would never try if I wasn't living this way, which is, pretty spontaneous. So I love that, but it's not for everyone, and I wouldn't expect it to be. I'm not here to promote that lifestyle to anyone that doesn't already have the dream. It starts with a dream. I had that dream since I was a little kid, and my family went camping, and it was usually some of the best times we ever had, So living your goals and your best life and your dreams it's up to you. Circumstances might help bring those things around, or you might be able to plan them out a little bit in advance. But as I'm going to get to in a moment, we're going to talk a little bit about attitude, which is, I'll give you a little heads up. That's my number one freedom that we have on my top 3 list, is you have the freedom to choose your own attitude towards your situation. And that includes accepting trade-offs. So whether you are choosing to live a mobile life, a traveler, or live somewhere permanently full-time with a home base, there's good and bad to all of those things. Whether or not you want to be married or choose a single lifestyle, or maybe you got divorced, you didn't want to get divorced, and it feels like a huge loss. Is it? It probably is in a lot of ways until you look at, well, is there anything good that came out of this? Am I better off in any way? Are there any advantages to this? I think if you ask yourself those questions to any of these alternative lifestyles, or, if you feel like you're kind of going against the grain, you want to be like everybody else, this is a free country. There are thousands of alternative lifestyles. People used to be really persecuted just for getting divorced, and now it's commonplace. What is, not considered mainstream today may be very common in the future. We don't know. To have kids or not to have kids, that's a decision every adult has to make. And there's trade-offs to both, which I am not going to go into that because I'm speaking to adults, and I'm sure you can think of them. There are wonderful things to be said about having kids, and there's also a lot of challenges and a lot of responsibility that comes with having children and raising a family. There's also alternative ways to have a parenting experience. Like, I've done foster care. I've worked with kids and been a child psychologist. And I love those experiences. I've been with partners who had children of all ages, young, grown. So is that the same as having my own biological children and raising them from, childhood onward? No, I don't think so. It's not. But I love kids. And so when I didn't have my own, and at times I did think about it, a part of it was, my situation or my choice in a way, to remain single unless I found the right person. And yeah, did I think I might be missing out on having a child of my own? Sure, I did. But I did other things, and I'm really glad that I did. And at any age, there are trade-offs to dating, and also stopping the dating or taking a break, which is all within your right. We all have the right to not date. There's an incredible amount of peer pressure, I believe, to date and continue to look for that significant other that's going to, complete you, or that's sort of, like a belief that I believe many people have, and embrace that and feel like there are, like there's just one special soulmate. But then there are a lot of schools of thought that, it's like anybody that you vibe with is a soulmate. And, I'm kind of surprised that more people don't talk about having strong friendships more. Especially women tend to get a lot of their social needs met through their children, their spouse, their family. I've noticed since I didn't marry and have children that most mothers, especially of young children, have never seemed that interested in me, because I'm not having the same life experience that they are. So a single female without children, is maybe not who they want to hang around, and that's fine. But life's a trade-off. And, if you want to hang around with other mothers and young children, then that's probably the lifestyle that you'll design for yourself. But there's plenty of others, and they're no better or no worse than anyone else's. We all have culture, no matter how we decide to live. It's being happy and accepting with what you choose it to be. And I think understanding why you chose that. Like, if you go into it with your eyes wide open, you can see the benefits as well as maybe some of the not so great aspects. You've probably got a balanced view, and you're willing to accept the good with the bad, which is probably, even if you are living like every mainstream normative message that's out there currently, there's probably still going to be people that will criticize you. They'll find something. So remember, you can always find a way to deal with a naysayer, usually by just asking them, what gives them the right to judge, to criticize, and have they even tried whatever it is that they're criticizing? Because 9 times out of 10, like I said, they really haven't thought things through. They just, want to tell other people what to do. Usually. So don't let them. So the top 3 freedoms that I believe we all have is the freedom to define yourself. We really do. More than we want to admit. It may not be perfect, and it may take going a little bit against the grain or whatever it is your family or people that you work with think. But that's okay. I'm here to tell you, it's okay. The most important permission slip that you can give is the one you give to yourself. You have the freedom to plan your time. That's all life is, really. How you choose to spend your time, and on who and on what. The job that you pick, the partners that you pick, the friends that you pick. When you do have a day off, even if you are self-employed, you have working hours, and you are going to probably prioritize that in some way and do other things around it, like how you eat. Who do you want to let into your life? Who do you want to let go of? What are some activities that you've always wanted to try? What activities do you love that build you up, that you want to keep doing because they nurture your soul? All of that is probably the most important part of designing your own life to be lived in a way that gives you the most energy, and where you can tell people, look, this is important to me. This, I have this class, or I do this activity. It's a big part of my life. And, if that's something that you're not into or you don't like about me, then, maybe we're not that compatible, and that's really what it comes down to with when you're choosing the people that you choose to spend time with, is just compatibility. And then, of course, the number one thing that we all have the most control over and the most freedom over is choosing our attitude. Even in times of high grief and despair, which is usually when you forget that, I think attitude is kind of everything. It can be difficult when you are in the middle of some strong negative emotions, and grieving any loss, whether it's for a job, another person, anything. Grieving is a part of life. Take your time to grieve, but then realize when you've been able to go through all of those mixed feelings, shock, anger, denial, bewilderment, you might find a place of acceptance and get back to your inner peace. And when you do that, you've just chosen an attitude. And many people, especially the older you get, you've accumulated quite a few life experiences, and probably quite a few of them have been extremely painful. But you're still here. And that indicates a certain resiliency. So I know that most of you that are listening to this already know what I'm talking about, because you're already doing it. You just maybe don't think about it in these terms. But congratulate yourself for being where you are in your life, on your path. You used to be younger, maybe you're a little bit more naive, and you're headed into your future where you're going to have more life experiences. You're going to be older and wiser, and you are going to look back on yourself and your life, and you're going to see how much you've progressed and how much you've grown. And that's going to help you get into your place of acceptance, giving yourself permission to be who you really want to be. And you can listen to people all day long tell you what they think is best for you, but ultimately it's your right and your responsibility to live your best life on your terms to the extent that you can. We all have different budgets. We all have come from different families. We've all had different kinds of challenges, but I don't believe there's a soul on the planet that hasn't had some challenges, no matter how sheltered of a life they've had. Even, kids that are born into inheritance, wealth, you would think that, money solves all problems. They can have whatever they want. They've never known a moment's want. There are people who they've had all of their decisions made for them their whole lives. And that's not necessarily a good thing. We grow and we change psychologically and in our hearts from experiencing challenges, difficulties, and hardship. And we also grow from nurturing ourselves and trying to keep as much positivity, optimism, and love in our hearts, not only for others, but you know what? You'll never love anybody more than you love yourself. And I don't mean in an arrogant way. I mean like yourself. You'll never like anyone more than you like yourself. And when you recognize your own resiliency and your own strengths and the things that you do like about yourself, your qualities, you will begin to appreciate them in others. You will see them you will seek out the people who have similar qualities that you do, because it's like, oh, I can see that this is someone who has cultivated kindness, because you're a kind person. If you weren't a kind person, if you chose to be a cruel person, a bitter person, then that's probably the first thing that you'll notice about someone else that has made the same choice, and maybe you'll become fast friends with them. Because people do tend to seek out others that have a lot of the same qualities that they do. So choosing your attitude, especially when there is quite a bit of, well, the news is depressing generally to most people. There's always loss of jobs, pain, changes occurring all the time. In every way, life is a big tapestry of change. I mean, our culture has changed so much in just the last 10 to 20 years with just technology, and we've all had to just kind of, accept and go along, and, don't really have a lot of control over a lot of the things that are on the market, or a lot of the things that, we're sort of clicking through because we don't have time to read it. Things like that. But you know what? We're not bots. We're not a nation of robots yet. And as long as people are people, and people have personalities, they can always grow and change. Some great words of wisdom I heard a long time ago, and I try to hold on to. When people are behaving sort of in a challenging manner, is, I think a good attitude is to love them in your heart as another soul with the potential, no matter how they're acting or what they're doing or what they said or what they did to you. It's about them. It's about them. Especially if you were keeping your side of the street clean. But just because you honor that potential and that soul inside them does not mean that you have to like their behavior. It doesn't mean you have to like them as a person, or spend time with them, or fix them, or any of that stuff. You do have the right to self-preservation. And if someone is bringing your morale down, sucking your energy, being an energy vampire, usually they are just just listen to their words and the way that they use them. They're usually negative. They're very, very negative. And, words can curse people, cast spells on people, and bring them down. And words can also heal. So you don't have to stay in a negative, toxic environment, or a job site, or with family that is constantly creating negativity for you. Will it be difficult to get out and design a different life? It might be, depending on your situation. It's rarely easy to make changes, but then once you do, when you are living in greater congruency with what your real values are, and if one of your values is to prioritize your own mental health, not only for you, you might think that's selfish. Some people do. That's not selfish. What's selfish, I believe, is becoming a bitter person with a bitter attitude. All of our life experiences and the losses that we experience are, I believe, tests of character. Is that going to make you bitter and jaded? Or is that going to make you better? and turn you into an optimist, turn you into somebody that you can look in the mirror and say, you know what, I like that person. There's a famous poem called The Road Less Traveled. I believe the road less traveled is for those people who are choosing to live they want to live, and it may not be completely mainstream, but what is really the road less traveled is choosing not to be bitter when you could. We all could. You have to be a high forgiver, I believe, to choose optimism and a positive mental attitude. And I have had to be a high forgiver because I grew up in a cult, experiencing some pretty extreme toxicity and abuse, ranging from verbal to physical to sexual. Now, if I was choosing to be bitter about my past and hold on to that at the forefront of my mind, remembering it, replaying it, talking about it, just because it should have been different. Yeah, it should have, but it wasn't. And to be a realist means accepting, yeah, there are people that act that way for no apparent reason. And they can perpetrate on little kids. You know, there's nothing more innocent than a child. And most people are carrying around, it's called baggage for a reason, because they've never been able to unpack that or process it or set it aside, and they have unconscious bitterness in them and pain that has never been released. And so they are often taking themselves out on others, and then they become the naysayer. I was treated awfully, and people treated me like this. Why should I treat you any better? Is kind of, I think, where they start to go in their head. But I think the greatest gift that you'll give yourself is to forgive others. Well, first forgive yourself for any amount of time that you spent being unable to. So what you can't do for yourself, you're probably going to be able to do for someone else. So when you can forgive yourself for not being perfect, no one is, so why should you be? It would be arrogant, actually, for you to think you were perfect, I think. And people really don't like perfect people because they're just too perfect, you know? I would rather know, and I'd rather talk to you like this authentically, and be my real self than try to be fake and like, oh, my life's just so perfect. It's not. But do I like myself? I do, because I feel like I've overcome a lot of things. And I feel like I have been a survivor and a thriver and an optimist in spite of the challenges that was in the hand that I was dealt. I've also forgiven myself for choices that I've made. I took wrong turns in relationships. I got involved with sometimes the wrong people. Or sometimes I took a job. I didn't know what it was going to be like until I really got into the job. And then I found out that there were people there that, yeah, some of them were toxic. There are also challenges to running your own business if you don't want to, be self-employed. Many people think that they want to be self-employed. Do you? Do you have any idea how much work that is? Life's a trade-off. And it's all attitude. So with that, I'll wrap up. And I just like to say that I think we all need to choose wisely. remember that it's not just about money. Money is made and spent. It can be generated, it can be replaced, but your time can't. And very often, the energy that you have today has a lot to do with how you lived yesterday and how well you took care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. I would encourage everyone listening to this message to make your time and energy, your choices, a priority, and to try to bring greater awareness to what you really are spending time on. And is it bringing you the type of experience and feelings that you want in your life? And when you start being honest about how you really feel and what it is you really want, and that becomes a priority for you above what other people want for you or tell you that you should be doing. You can listen to any number of people give you advice, but ultimately you get to choose. You get to decide what you're going to focus on. You can only focus on so much. In this life, we are living in a linear format, trying to stay in the moment. If you're living too much in the past, there's probably some stuff in the past that you're still dealing with in the present that is kind of keeping you stuck. If you're living in just for the future, what's wrong with the present? It's about balance and making choices today that are going to reap dividends into your future. If I take care of myself and my mental health today, I plan to have a very peaceful day today. I have a full day tomorrow. I'm going to be meeting some new people. I'm going to a new campground. I'm going to color my hair. And I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out because now that I'm on the road, I'm doing it myself. I've got a new formula, so I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out. But today I have a day that I could pack it full of a lot of things, but because I know I'm going to be having a lot coming up this week. I wanted to make a video and reach out to people that way, and also spend a lot of time out in nature, especially on a hot day like this, and just prioritize being outdoors. And my diet, I've been trying to eat healthier, and so I had a really great picnic lunch out here, and I am on the ground, sitting on my mat. I'm going to do some exercises out here shortly, and that's how I want to spend my day. And that is just a few of the things that fill up my cup, make me feel like I am appreciating the life that I have. And if you can get to a stage of your life where you are living very closely with your values and your true feelings, I believe that you will start doing things that just automatically support that more and more. And you can get to a place where you have forgiven the people that have hurt you the most, and even thank them for making you the person, the woman that you are today. And I'm wishing that for all of you. Thanks for watching. and I'll see you on the next video.